be a fucking madhouse out there! Fuck yeah! It's cursed for you!
Crushed it! Let them win! Right?
Yeah! Fuck that wave!
Time for a scrap.
Were you not entertained? Yeah, my ticket is
Who saw that?
I never felt. I'm still upset that I can't say fuck.
More crystals. Interesting.
Hello everybody, my name is Nootmad and welcome back to another Borderlands 3 video. This time I'll be taking you guys through my SENTRY gunner Moze build. So, I did recently put out an Iron Bear build that uses the Raging Bear class mod, and this time I thought it best to make use of a severely underutilized class mod, and that is the Rocketeeer Class Mod. What this class mod does is basically gives us a very much increased duration of Order Bear, which means we basically get the added support of Order Bear gunning down enemies alongside us. And as you saw in the clips that I posted at the start of this video, this build does exactly that. Basically, you're Moze fighting enemies on foot, and Order Bear is there just to give you support and just kill enemies on his own as well. And that sort of playstyle is just a really fun thing to do, and it's something I enjoyed playing as well. So I thought I'd share you guys a build that I thought would be pretty well optimized for that. So yeah, I guess we'll go straight into the build. As for the guns that I'd use, this build isn't really specifically weapon reliant. It's not, I wouldn't advertise it as a heavy splash build, forcing you to use splash weapons. If anything, I would just suggest you guys use whatever guns that you find enjoyable, as long as they're just not trash weapons basically, and as long as their anoints are pretty decent. I found weapons like the Light Show, the Flipper, the Plague Bearer, the Monarchs, the Sandhawks, all those sorts of meta weapons are incredibly good. And yeah, the anoints you'd want to use are things like splash damage anoints, consecutive hits, or next to mag anoints. For the specific guns that I've decided to use two different Light Shows, both with Order Bear incendiary damage. However, you can also use the consecutive hits anoints as well if you so prefer. It's really up to you. You can also use the Flipper. This is the gun that I find can do an absolute ton of damage, and with the consecutive hits anoint, it just works incredibly well. You can also use the splash anoint, but however, I wouldn't recommend using many action skill and anoints for the sole reason that we're using a Rocketeeer class mod. And by that I mean the second you get in and out of Iron Bear to proc Order Bear, you're basically back on full cooldown, and that sort of cooldown doesn't really synergize well with action skill and anoints. So that's why I'm just using weapons with anoints that are like this, like Order Bear, like consecutive hits. So yeah, that's sort of my logic behind that. Plague Bearer is also a very good weapon to use, especially just does a ton of mobbing damage in a very wide area. So that's why I have that slotted in as well. However, you can also use the Backburner, the Gargoyle, or any of those other guns as well. It's really up to you. And as for the gear, nothing too special. Once again, we want to be boosting the amount of armor Iron Bear has. That's why I'm using a shield like the Old God with 2 health pods that will boost that. Max health on Moze translates to more armor on Iron Bear. So obviously you want to have an Order Bear with a decent amount of armor. So yeah, that's why I suggested the Old God. Once again, back to the Rocketeeer Class Mod. Makes Order Bear last a very long time. I highly suggest having +5 to all cross promotions because splash damage is splash damage, and being able to boost that in any way possible is great. The splash damage buffs also helps Order Bear and Iron Bear, which is always great to know and have, so that's why I suggest that. And obviously, as far as the rolls go, you want to have things that will singe as well, like splash damage radius, splash damage, and grenade damage. Now, as for the Relic, you can use the Pearl. However, you can also swap in things like the Atom Bomb Victory Rush, Cutburst Launchpad if you're using weapons with high ammo consumption, or you can use the Snowdrift Victory Rush as well. It's really up to you. Just use whatever Relic synergizes well with the anoints you have and the playstyle you enjoy. If you like to slide around, use the Snowdrift. If you just want to stand still and just gun down enemies right in front of you, use the Pearl because of the stacking damage. But yeah, it's really up to you with the Relic you use. As for the grenades, use the Cloning Maddening Tracker. At this point, it's a grenade that every Moze player would have. Yeah, with the on-grenade thrown tonight, just helps Moze do a bit more damage, and it just synergizes very well with Vampire to keep yourself alive as Moze. So yeah, that's why I have the CMT grenade on that. Now, onto the skills. So, we'll start off with Red Tray, guys. We have Security Bear, just to give Order Bear a big chunky shield, helps it survive a bit more. We have Armored Infantry, a little bit of gun damage, a little bit of damage reduction, will never hurt anyone. Now, Drowning a Brass is one of the biggest skills we have in this tree, as it gives Moze easy access to a solid consistent damage, especially with the fact that Order Bear can maintain its own Drowning and Brass stacks. It just helps Moze stay at 3 out of 3 in almost every mobbing situation, which is great. We also have Experimental Munitions, because we just want to be able to do extra elemental damage where possible. That's why I picked that skill up. Now, with the 2 points of Light of Ingenuity and the 1 cannon full cannon whoop-ass, you can realistically put it wherever you want. Once again, like my Order Bear build, the only reason why I put those 3 points in the tree is just so I can unlock Corrosive Sabers, because I like to use the Capacitive Armatures and Corrosive Saber combination, because in my opinion it's the best form of damage and very good for mobbing. You can choose to put this point and these 2 points into something like Selfless Vengeance if you so prefer, if you're using weapons that you'll be spamming reloads with. So yeah, it's really up to you. There's a bit of a float of points per se, so yeah, put them wherever you want. Blue Tree is pretty standard for an Iron Bear / Splash build. For Vamp, just helps Iron Bear stay up as long as possible. Short Fuse helps Moze do a bunch of damage very quickly. We only have 1 in Skag because it's Skag Den, doesn't scale with Splash, doesn't scale with critical hit damage, so it's kind of dead points if you put more than 1 in. However, the 1 in here does let us maintain our consecutive hits anoint and our Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge damage stacks. We have 4 in Grizzled, and none in EP, because like I briefly mentioned in one of my skill tree breakdown videos, Grizzled is just a much more superior skill to get Iron Bear back off cooldown. So let's say you summon your Rocketeer and for some reason it just gets one shot by something, you can get a few kills and you'll have it back more sooner than you would if you were using Explosive Punctuation. I will be making a complete separate video for that, just to discuss the differences between Grizzled and Explosive Punctuation and really get the point across. I have seen quite a few builds that still use 5 out of 5 Explosive Punctuation with none in Grizzled, and a lot of questions on the Gearbox forums and the official Discord as well, and I think it does warrant a video about that, so I'll be making one soon. But yeah, the rest of the Blue Tree is pretty standard. We didn't have 1 in Pull the Holy Pin because we don't have something like a Mindset Grenade that relies on getting as much crits as possible with grenades, so 1 is enough. However, you can take points out of something like Vampire if you don't feel you need that many points in it to put in here. However, in my opinion, you don't really need more than 1 point unless you're using a Mindset Grenade, Mindset Class Mod, sorry. But yeah, that's what I'd pick. So that's the Blue Tree for you guys. As to the Green Tree, nothing too different from my previous Iron Bear build. However, we now have 1 point in Darker Bear. Darker Bear basically just boosts the damage of Order Bear as well, and it gives us a bit of a safe space to chill and just go AFK if you absolutely need to. As you saw in the Guardian takedown clip, you can literally do just that. Summon your Order Bear, open Darker Bear, and go do something else while Order Bear does the raid for you. We have 4 points in Cloud of Lead. Now these 4 points can be moved to match set should you so choose. if you're doing a bit of an allegiance weapon loader, like for example using all Vladov guns or Maliwan guns, I suggest putting 4 points in the match set just to get that increased magazine size bonus. However, I'm not doing that. I'm using a bit of a mishmash of different weapon manufacturers, so that's why I just put 4 in Cloud. But it's up to you. Now, the 1 point in redistribution, I would more or less say that's compulsory. Gives you ammo regen, gives you health regen. You'd be crazy not to pick it. Now, as for the 4 points in Scrappy, it's really up to you whether you put them in here or put 4 points into Stoke. I'm not heavily reliant on incendiary weapons, so that's why I didn't bother to put that in. I do like to swap my weapons quite a lot, so I don't want to be locked to a skill that boosts a very specific form of elemental damage. But that's just me. If I was using incend weapons, I would more than encourage you to pick up Stoke. But also, Scrappy has the added benefit of weapon swap and mode switch speed, which I enjoy very much to have in a build, especially if I'm using something like the Monarch, which has bipod mode, and being able to swap between that and the normal firing mode is very useful for me, so that's why I picked that up. But it's up to you. You can put a mishmash of both. You can put 2 in Stoke, 2 in Scrappy, or 3 in Stoke, 1 in Scrappy. It's up to you guys. Just pick whatever skills align most with the playstyle you want to run this build with. Now, these points I would say are more or less compulsory. The 5 in RPMs gives Moze easy crit damage and iron bear damage. Specialist bear buffs iron bear damage, so there's no reason not to pick that. And Russian offensive is lifesteal, and yeah, it's just nice to have lifesteal, even though the skill is a little bit inconsistent and bugged at the moment. I would still pick it up anyway. Just when it does work, it works. When it doesn't, you're not really got to miss it because you have Vampire to heal you and redistribution. But yeah, that's about it for the skill trees, and yeah. So aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learn a lot from this build, and if you guys have any questions, as always, leave them down in the comments below. But yeah, that's about it for now, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!